This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting. Today, I'm very lucky joined by Buddy McGirt. So thank you very much for coming on, Buddy.
Thank you. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm all good, buddy. Thank you very much for coming on. So before we get started to talking about all the people you trained or what you actually accomplished in boxing, you had a very long professional boxing career and coaching career. How did you originally get into boxing?
I started when I was 12 years old, man. I as a kid growing up, I wanted to do something with my life. I just didn't want to be that guy just chilling on the corner every day hanging out. I thought about college, but and I was gonna go to college to be honest, when I was in high school, but I started boxing when I was 12. As I got older, I said, I'm gonna go to college, and do the right thing. But as I got older, when I was boxing, once you start boxing, it's like a drug. So when I started when I was 12, that was it.
And I remember hearing an interview before that on only your second day of you when you just picked up doing boxing, that you've become quite interested in becoming a coach. When you've only
Yeah.
been boxing for 2 days. Why was that?
I watched how the guy, his name was Gene Moore, how he was working with the kids, and myself. And I just found it interesting, that I can teach someone how to outsmart somebody else. Because I've always loved doing things where you can use your brain. I've always loved that ever since I was a kid. No matter what I did, it had to be challenging mentally. If not, I really couldn't get into it.
That was only 2 days after your birthday because you got a pair of boxing gloves on your birthday. And you also
Yeah,
share the same birthday as Muhammad Ali and Customado, right?
yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And
Interesting, huh?
then, oh yeah, and I also saw in another interview that a pair of women's underwear kind of shaped your boxing future when you were a lot younger. So when you're 8 years old, your mum was trying to buy some like underwear, and then she wasn't able to afford it. And when you won your world title and you got the paycheck, that's the first thing you bought. Why was that so important to you?
Because as a kid, you don't realize how much your parents sacrifice. And when the thing was that when we were online in the store, my mom didn't have enough money. So the lady told her she had to put some stuff back. And it was either the stuff from her brother's field trip or her brown panties. So she put her brown panties back, went home, washed out her brown panties, and hung them up to dry before she went to work. And to me, that kind of like, I was like, wow, is that bad? Because, when you're really young, you really don't understand. But as you get older and you see things and you don't forget, kids don't forget. So they're always stuck in my mind, the struggle that she did for us. So I said, I can't, I mean, I want to do something so my mom doesn't have to live like that.
And remember that happened when you were 8 years old. That's quite a long time. I don't know how much stuff I can remember when I was 8 years old. So it's quite impressive you can remember that. And you won your world title when you're 24 years old. And if you win a world title right now, boxing at 24, that's pretty young to win a world title. It's quite impressive. And when fighters win a world title, sometimes they feel that they have filled their legacy, filled their career, and they can kind of relax. And others feel like they want to unify, they want more. How did you feel when you finally won your world title at 24?
When I won my first world title, by the time it sunk in that I was champion, I had lost the title. So, because everything was happening so fast, but the second time around I enjoyed it more because I appreciated it more.
So why did you appreciate it more of a second time around? Was that just because you had the world title for a bit longer and you didn't fight as often?
No, not only that, you just appreciate it more. You really really understand. I mean, I won my title February, then I went to camp to fight in May. Fight got canceled. Went back to camp, fought in July, and then boom, after July, I fought in September. So I didn't give myself a chance to enjoy it. So the second time around, I said I'm going to sit back now and rest on my laurels a little bit. I worked hard for this.
I guess you kind of let it sink in because it's such an amazing achievement.
Yes.
And then now you kind of had time to look back at your career. You even shared the ring with Frankie Warren, the late Pernell Whitaker, Medrick Taylor, and lots of other great fighters. Of all the fighters you were in the ring with, who do you think gave you a toughest test?
My toughest test. Well, I can take that in three ways. The toughest test was Frankie Warren, because he took me to that limit that very few athletes know, that he takes you to that zone where you're like totally zoned out. You know what I mean? He took me there. So that's something I'll never forget. Then, you had Pernell, who was one of the best. But the smartest was Sal Manby. I fought Sal Manby in 1986. He was a former junior welterweight champ. He's very, very smart. I mean, Pernell's coach was Georgie Benton, who to me was the master.
I remember you saying that when you're fighting Pernell Whitaker, you're fighting him and his coach. How hard was that?
Right. It was tough because I wasn't really stressing Pernell. It was Georgie I was worried about.
And then, as a professional, it sounds like you've had very tough fights through your career, but you also got some great memories. You must have learned a lot through his fights. You had 80 professional fights, and that's quite a few fights. And then you decided to retire and become a coach, which you always wanted to do. I know lots of fighters have become coach. Sometimes they find it difficult, sometimes they find it a lot easier. How did you find the transition, becoming a boxer and then to a coach?
It was hard because, being a world champion and fighting on that level, you have to understand that the guys are not going to pick up what you're trying to teach them overnight. You also have to understand you can't train them to fight like you, and you can't train them all the same way. So it's a big, big, big adjustment.
I remember hearing you say, I think I saw an article about it, and you said there's two types of boxing coaches or people who teach boxing. There's a boxing coach and then there's a boxing teacher. Which kind do you think you are?
I consider myself a teacher because, you can tell a fighter to do something, but if you show him as well as tell him, I think you will have a better fighter. It's like telling your son to go ride the bike. Okay, but he can't ride the bike. So what's going to make him a better bike rider? If you teach him how to ride the bike. It's the same. I've seen trainers tell guys, throw this combination and do this and do that. And then I want to ask the trainer, why? Tell the fighter why you want to do that. It's got to be a reason why you want him to do that. And if you can't explain to him why should he do it? You know what I mean? Anybody can throw punches on the heavy bag, but you got to use your brain. And you got to, have a reason why you want a guy to do something. You got to be able to show them, basically.
I think that bike analogy is quite a good analogy for it. And do you find that you find fighters, you get a few fighters which you find easy to train, fighters that don't ask questions, or what type of fighter do you think you're best to train?
Well, the guys who really, now I'm not going to say don't ask questions, but try it until they get it right. I mean, I tell guys, you don't got to do it the same way I do it, but the kids to get the same result.
That's a very good point, very interesting as well. When Roy Jones Jr. for Antonio Tarver the second time, you were actually, a lot of people don't know this, but you're actually in Antonio Tarver's corner the second time around, and then Antonio Tarver knocked him out in the second round. What was it like? Because that was quite a big shock, because Roy Jones had just come back from heavyweight, he was in his prime. What was that a big shock to you? Or?
I knew that in the second fight, that Roy was going to take more chances. And he took a chance to stay in front of Tarver a little too long. I mean, Roy is one of the greats. I give it to him. And I commend him for fighting Tarver 2 times, let alone 3 times. You're giving him the rematch right after the first fight.
And who did you actually tell him? Because he did the slip. When he slipped, he was southpaw. He slipped to his right. So yeah, he slipped to his right and threw a left hand. Did you tell him to do that at all, or was that just of his own initiative?
It was mainly his initiative, but I told him something in training camp. I said, remember this, a guy cannot punch and block punches at the same time. And when Roy starts, because Roy throws wide shots because of his speed, I said, you go right down the middle.
And it was a straight right, as a straight left hand, straight down the pipe that laid him out. And you're now training Derek Chisora. He's a great heavyweight. He's kind of like, he's fighting Joseph Parker. Parker's got another trainer in Andy Lee. And what I found quite funny is that you never actually watched any Derek Chisora's fights. Have you watched any of Derek's fights since?
No, no,
And why is that?
because I got to deal with the Derek that I see now, not what I see in the fights. That's not going to do me any good. What's going to do me good is the Derek I see every day.
And so what do you see in Derek right now then?
Derek is just Derek, man. He's a rough and tough guy. You know, he's going to make the fight ugly. I mean, he's going to do whatever he has to do to win. So I just got to get him prepared for that.
Are you going to make any big changes to Derek, or just little adjustments, do you think?
Little adjustments. I mean, at this stage of the game, you can't make no really big changes. There's minor adjustments. And, you know, it's taking him a while. He's coming around. He's getting it. So the key is just to execute next week.
I can't wait. It's going to be a great fight. Real good 50-50 matchup. Anyway, don't take too much of time, so I've only got one more question. Do you think you're a better boxer or a better boxing coach?
Damn, that's a tough question. I want to say teacher. Not a coach, a teacher.
You're a better boxing teacher.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. All right, buddy. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Where can the people find you on social media at?
At Buddy McGirt Boxing, my Instagram.
Perfect. All right, buddy. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.